It's 1720. A British Royal Navy sailor gets his leg shattered by cannon fire during a brutal chase. The ship's surgeon hacks it off with a rusty saw. No anesthesia, no painkillers, just rum if he's lucky. He survives the amputation barely. Then what? The Navy dumps him at the next port with a pitiful pension, if any, and he begs on the streets of London for the rest of his miserable life. That was healthcare in the most powerful navy on earth. Now flip the scene. Same year, same battle, but on a pirate ship. Pirate crewman takes the same hit. His mates carry him below deck. The pirate surgeon, often a former Navy man who knew the horrors, cleans the wound, applies what medicine they have, and the crew votes on his compensation. 800 pieces of 8 from the common fund for a lost limb. That's roughly 2 years' wages for a merchant sailor. Enough to retire comfortably, open a tavern in Nassau, or live quietly without begging. The pirate code didn't just promise it, it enforced it. First priority when dividing plunder, pay the injured first. Hollywood sold us pirates as reckless drunkards who lived short, brutal lives. But the proof is in their own articles, written constitutions that guaranteed medical care, disability pay, and even rest for the wounded. While the British Navy flogged men for complaining about moldy food, pirate crews voted on whether to attack a prize, and if someone got hurt, the whole ship felt the responsibility. How did outlaws create a system fairer than the empire that hunted them? Why did desperate men fleeing tyranny build better safety nets than the kings they robbed? The answer isn't romance. It's cold, practical logic. And the documents survive in trial records and captains' logs. Today we're going to walk through the proof, article by article, case by case, and you'll see why some historians call pirate ships the most progressive workplaces of the 18th century. Ready to have your view of pirates rewritten? To understand why pirates ended up with better injury care than the British Navy, we have to go back to the brutal reality of life at sea in the early 1700s. The Royal Navy was the pride of the empire. Hundreds of ships, thousands of men pressed into service or signed on for meager pay. Discipline was enforced with the cat-o'-nine-tails. A single complaint about food or pay could earn you dozens of lashes until your back was raw. Surgeons were often butchers with little training. Amputations happened on the open deck in full view of the crew. No privacy, no real medicine beyond rum and prayer. If you lost a limb and survived the shock, congratulations, you were useless to the Navy. Most got discharged with a token sum or nothing. Many ended up as beggars, displaying their stumps outside taverns for pennies. Pirates? They were mostly ex-Navy men, merchant sailors, or indentured workers who had mutinied or deserted. They knew the system's cruelty firsthand. When they formed crews, they wrote their own rules, articles signed by every man before sailing. These weren't vague promises. They were binding contracts enforced by vote. The most famous come from Bartholomew Roberts, who captured over 400 ships. His articles included clear provisions for the wounded. Lost a right arm? 800 pieces of 8. Left arm? 600. Leg? Same as right arm. Eye? 100. Finger or joint? Scaled down but still paid. This money came straight from the common stock. Plunder divided only after the injured were compensated. Other captains followed suit. John Phillips in 1723, George Lowther, even the brutal Edward Lowe, all had similar clauses. Why? Because a pirate ship was a small, voluntary society of 50 to 150 men who couldn't afford resentment. One crippled man left to starve could spark mutiny. Paying him fairly kept morale high and attracted skilled recruits who knew they'd be taken care of if things went wrong. Word spread in ports, join the pirates, get fair treatment. The Navy couldn't compete with that promise. So while empires relied on fear, pirates built trust through ink and coin. Here's where the real tension kicks in. You might think pirate healthcare was just generous handouts from stolen gold. But the truth is darker and more revealing. The British Navy had surgeons, tools, and royal funding. Yet their system failed the men who needed it most. Why? Because care was tied to hierarchy, not humanity. A wounded sailor's fate depended on the captain's mood or the ship's budget. Many surgeons were incompetent or drunk. Supplies ran short on long voyages. Records from courts-martial show sailors flogged for refusing dangerous work while injured. No vote, no appeal. You healed or you suffered in silence. Pirates flipped that script entirely. Their articles weren't optional, they were law voted on by every man. Suspense builds when you realize this created real conflict. What happens when the prize is small and the injury fund eats most of it? Crews still paid first. Bartholomew Roberts' men captured a rich Portuguese ship in 1720, 30,000 pieces of 8. But before anyone took a share, the wounded got their cut. Even in lean times, the code held. That's the turning point.
Sign here.
Pirates weren't kinder by nature. They were smarter. They understood that a man who fears abandonment in injury will hesitate in battle, costing the whole crew. A man who knows he'll be compensated fights harder. But cracks appeared. Some captains cheated the fund or favored friends. When that happened, democracy turned brutal, quartermaster-led trials, votes for marooning or death. Edward Lowe's crew once debated torturing a prisoner. The code required majority approval, or it didn't happen. Even cruelty had checks. The suspense? Pirates proved a voluntary society of violent men could enforce fairness better than an empire built on forced obedience. The Navy hunted them as monsters, yet their wounded lived better. That contradiction haunted every trial transcript. Why did outlaws value a man's limb more than kings did? The deeper layer hits hard. Pirates didn't invent compassion, they engineered survival. In a world where one bad wound could doom a crew, their code turned liability into loyalty. Compensation wasn't charity. It was insurance. A man with nothing to lose fights like a demon. A man who knows he'll be provided for risks less recklessly and lives longer. That's why Roberts' fleet grew massive. Skilled sailors deserted Navy ships for pirate ones, whispering about the better deal. Even the Navy's own reports admitted it. Pirate recruits were often healthier, better armed, and fiercely committed. The climax comes in the trial records. When captured pirates faced the gallows in Boston or London, they didn't beg. They quoted their articles. William Fly, Moments from the Noose, corrected the hangman's knot with calm precision, then lectured the crowd on liberty and fair treatment. His code had promised dignity in life and death. He honored it to the end. Other crews did the same. The twist? The empires that called them savages secretly envied their cohesion. Pirate ships had disability funds, equal votes, and injury logs, concepts that wouldn't appear in workers' rights laws for centuries. So here's the proof laid bare. While the British Navy discarded broken men, pirates paid them first. Not because they were saints, but because fairness worked. In chaos, they built order. In tyranny, they chose democracy. That's the real rebellion, not stealing gold, but stealing better ideas. What if the outlaws were the ones who got it right? Drop a comment. Which pirate rule shocks you most? The injury pay, the votes, or something else? Theories welcome. Did this system inspire later revolutions? Hit subscribe for more hidden history where rebels outsmarted empires. Next, how mutineers created floating utopias that terrified kings. Don't miss it.